Our next guest is no stranger to shaking up the political world, and he's not doing it from D.C. He's knocking on one door at a time. Cliff Maloney is a powerhouse strategist who's been leading the charge for liberty, limited government, and grassroots activism across America, from fighting to get Trump back into the Oval Office to flipping state legislatures. Cliff's not just talking about change. He's here to build the political army to make it happen. So before we get into all this, let's go ahead and take a look back at this iconic moment. Election night at Trump headquarters, Pennsylvania. That was the moment that everybody got so fired up because they knew it was about to go down. So Cliff joins us now. So let's get into a little bit about Pennsylvania, Chase, and how it contributed to that moment that we just saw there for Trump's victory.
Well, thanks for having me. Still gives me chills, thinking back. The story started for me about a year and a half ago. I get this phone call. It's Charlie Kirk over at Turning Point USA and his COO, Tyler Boyer. And they're like, Cliff, we need you to go in on Pennsylvania. We've always knocked doors. That's what we do at Citizens Alliance. We always focus typically on state races. We have a funny saying, we don't do federal races, right? Which is ironic now. And they just said, look, they're really focused on Arizona, Wisconsin. There's other groups doing Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina. We need a group we can trust in Pennsylvania when they have these new rules that allow you to chase or harvest ballots. So we launched this program, PA Chase. We said if we knock 500,000 doors, we think we can take Trump from 20% of the mail-in versus Biden to 33% against Harris. We do that, we win, and it's over. Trump got 34.5% of the vote. We knocked 510,000 doors. It was an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, tell us why knocking doors is important, compared to, we all see the TV ads, those move some people. Why is knocking doors important?
So the left has a lot of literature on this. Right back in 2016, I was starting to see that the left had paid door knockers and volunteers. And on the right, we had volunteers. And I just kept saying, why aren't we matching the Obama era of community organizing? Pay these folks. It's a full-time gig. Well, then we looked at the literature and the studies that the left has done, and they have all these numbers that they break it down very simply that say for every 9 doors that you actually have a conversation at, you will add a vote. And they compare that to texting, to phone calls, to TV, to digital, to radio. And obviously every way you can earn new voters, but the doors are by far off the charts the best way and the most efficient and cost-effective way to be able to recruit new voters. And especially once they added this chase or harvest component, it's like you have to compete with the Democrats or they're going to run away with the election before you get to Election Day.
Yeah, because I can tell you, if I get a text message, that thing gets deleted immediately, and I'm like, we can just not go ahead and do these future ones. I reply with stop and please. I don't want anything else coming in on my phone. But door knocking is a completely different experience. So, what do you think that there are other states out there? Because I know everybody wants to replicate this, right? This shouldn't just be a Pennsylvania thing. So, how can other states learn from what you guys did?
Yeah, well, I think, once again, I don't want to say that I'm just imitating the left, but the left figured this out during COVID with all the rule changes that you find organizations, right? It's not the party, okay? The left isn't doing this through the Democrat Party. They're using the big Democrat donors, but they're funding and they're picking organizations. So, my advice to any organization out there is, 1, you can go out and register voters like Scott Pressler at Early Vote Action. 2, you can get involved in the chase game like we do, like Charlie Kirk does at Turning Point, depending on the states. Or 3, you can go into advocacy, right? Let's say you want to endorse candidates and you want to actually go out and instead of registering or chasing, you're pushing a message. But it's hard. And I tell this to people all the time. I had to go out. I spent 280 days on the road in 2024. I had to raise $3 million to be able to hire 120 full-time staffers. I'm very proud of it. But for a lot of people to just come up with excuses, well, the party didn't want to fund it. Or, we don't really know how to do that around here. Call me. Blow me up on X at Maloney. I'm happy to talk to people, but it's a process. The left doesn't make excuses. They make it happen. And I think 2024 was a moment for us to finally learn, hey, there's something to this door knocking. We need to double down on this.
And you said ballot harvesting, right? I mean, I think our audience hears ballot harvesting and thinks that people are like getting dead people and throwing them into ballots. What is ballot harvesting? Why is it important that we play in that space?
So if you look at all the states, and specifically the ones that matter, so the swing states, you have about 6 to 7 of them that have rule changes that really allow for a much longer voting period. So in Pennsylvania specifically, there's now 50 days of voting. When I grew up, there was 1 day. You went on election day, you got your sticker, you voted, or you missed voting. Now there's 50 days, and they used COVID to create that, and it's never going to go back. I mean, unless we have a big change in Pennsylvania, I don't think it's going to go back. So in Pennsylvania, you can chase. You cannot harvest. The difference is you know who has a ballot. So we went to Republicans' doors who have a ballot sitting on the dining room table, and we said, hey, Susie, we know you've got a ballot. We know you support Trump. Get your ballot in. Can we count on you to send it in today? That's chasing. And we go back every 7 days until she votes. That's a tactic from the left that works very well. Harvesting is in certain states where you can actually take the ballot. So you show up to Susie's house, say, Susie, we're here with the Democrat Party. We want to collect your ballot. We'll get it turned in. And they legally can touch the ballot. That's where you do have plenty of, suspected fraud and different things that pop up because you have all this chain of custody, these issues that you're going to run into. But that's the difference. You have to play by the rules. You don't have to like chasing. You don't have to like mailing your ballot in. But if you don't play by those rules, you're just conceding the election. And 2024 was the first year we said, no, we hate the rules, but we're going to play by the rules to win.
How do we look at the state level and all of the state legislatures that are out there? Because, yes, it's one thing that this great victory happened in D.C. and we have Donald Trump, but how do we make sure that the red states stay red and that some of the blue states can, maybe become purple and then eventually red? How do we take back state legislatures across the country?
This is my bread and butter. Obviously Pennsylvania was a lot of fun to go back to your home state, to be able to deliver the White House and have a significant role. It was a blessing. But my advice to anyone who really wants to have an impact and wants to get involved is focus on your state legislatures. I mean, those people take away or protect your liberty at a much higher rate than anybody in D.C. Furthermore, run for dog catcher. The more local you can get, the better. But I do think if you want to fix the states, you have to figure out how to get strong, liberty-minded, principled America First candidates elected at the state level. I just put a piece out in Breitbart that said, look, let's Doge every state, right? We now have a model. Elon is showing us the way. We'll see how Congress acts and if they get in line with Elon and Trump, which I hope they do. But that'll be a model that we can then take to each of the states. When I first started pushing this, hey, we need to focus on the states. I was here. I think it was with Sarah Gonzalez back in 18 here. And getting an audience for people to care about states was tough. But 2 major things happened. COVID, we realized the states that were good, that had bold leaders, fought back. And 2, people said, wait a second, who certifies the elections? It's the states. So those 2 things I feel like really catapulted this idea that we need to focus on building strong states. It's not as sexy. It's not as appealing. We all turn on the TV. We all talk about federal stuff. We're talking about the courts, the White House, Congress. But it's the state house where you're going to have people that actually impact your life for better or for worse. And so all of my time, a lot of our door knocking programs, except the PHAs, we are always focused on getting principled folks elected or unelected to state house or state senate. That to me is the real fight.
And you say state house, state elections, right? Grew up in Massachusetts. We've known each other a long time. What about people that think that they're stuck in a blue state, that they're stuck somewhere in New England? I know that in your past life, you've done a lot of work up in New Hampshire and helping to turn that legislature around. What do you say to people that say, oh, I'm stuck in this blue state, nothing's going to matter anyways?
Yeah, I think that you have to start somewhere with winning, but I'll give an example of why I think winning is contagious. Rand Paul, when he had his Senate reelect in 2016, so after he got out of the presidential, we brought out 150 people in 2016 just for a week-long program. We called it Operation Randslide. Great branding. And he ended up winning by double digits, but we all knew he was going to win. But something happened on election night. We're at the party. This is before they called for Trump late in the night, that night in 2016. But all these young people and all these activists and volunteers, they were just so joyful and pumped up. And I was kind of I don't understand that. He was going to win anyway by 5 or 6 points, but he had a very good night. But I realized in that moment, you have to have a culture of winning. Mm-hmm. And the left's dealing with that right now, right? Because they're coming out of this. There's no political message. There's no political leader. They're trying to figure that out. But to somebody in a blue state, I would say, find a local race. Don't pick one that's a guaranteed win, but find a competitive race and start to build from there. You cannot build off losses. Ask the Libertarian Party, ask the Green Party, right? You have to build off wins because it keeps donors engaged, it keeps voters engaged, activists engaged. And so find a battle you can win, do everything you can to win, and then try to build off that in a blue state.
All right, we want principled conservatives, right? That's what the three of us want. That's what everybody in the audience wants. We all want the people that are actually going to stand up for us, right? The uniparty is such a disappointment. We know the Democrats are going to do the bad things. We already know this, but then you have most of the Republicans out there doing the uniparty bad things as well. So when you're looking, how do you know that somebody isn't just going to fall in line, right? We think these people are principled and conservative, but we don't know, right? How do we go about is there any way of trying to decipher during the primary process to figure out who's good and who's not?
So I spend all of my time working for and against Republicans. That's how I like to lay that out. We do a survey in state for any candidate that wants an endorsement that's running for state house or state senate. There's obviously some federal groups that do it. But the reason, once again, I never push people federally is it's so hard to have an impact when they're able to spend $10 or $15 million and you're trying to run a grassroots group. That's different at the state level. So when I look at candidates, one, we do candidate trainings. So if anybody wants to come out, they can be in any state. We'll teach you to go from 0 to 100 in one day to run for state house in your state. All the basics, fundraising, messaging, et cetera. But what happens is you have to care about being principled, but you have to care about being viable. And so those are the two-pronged that's what I'm looking for to figure out who to support. But once again, you have to do the math. In Pennsylvania, the average state house candidate spends $152,000 to win. Okay, in New Hampshire, it's $900. Let me say it again. Pennsylvania State House, $152,000 is the average winner. In New Hampshire, it's roughly $900. Some of them don't even open a bank account because they don't spend enough money to qualify.
Of them or whatever there are, right?
It's 400 state reps for 1.2 million people. So to me, focusing where you can win, but understanding that, some of these state rep positions, it's fine to be very, very principled. But if you're not viable, you're going to waste your time and you're not going to be there. But as to your question on the principle, there's a lot of viable candidates that have no principle. Mm-hmm. They put an R next to their name. Yep. And one of the biggest problems we have in America, if we really want to save the republic, are rhinos. I mean, that is the uniparty teaming up, the rhinos teaming up with the Democrats, or as we would call it, the uniparty. That is a major problem, not just in Congress, but in all of the state capitals throughout the U.S. Now, we've penetrated in a couple states. New Hampshire, we've taken back the state house. We got a Patriot speaker there, Patriot majority leader. Idaho, we've got the speaker who's aligned with us. We've got, 6 of the committee chairs. There are certain states that are making moves. But a lot of people need to wake up to this idea that just because you have a Republican-controlled legislature, you guys see in the Texas House? I got a lot of comments about the Texas House. There are issues. So I think now's the time, like I said, take that Doge model, push it down to the states, see who's on our team, and see who really, really stands up and doesn't fall in line.
Yeah, and to that point, you have to hold the people that you get elected accountable at the next election. You said you've got a survey. They answer the survey one way, and then they do something that's different to the survey. What do you do then? So
we have a process where their survey is private unless they stab us in the back. That's literally what it says at the end of our survey. If you stab us in the back, we will go public and destroy you politically. So we have two things we do. One, we have political praise for our champions. And so we go out to those that have taken some tough votes, but were the right votes. We knock doors in their district, talk to their voters, praise them. And then we have political pain. Now, obviously, that's figurative for the lawyers out there listening. We're not hurting anybody, but we're driving political pain, going into the districts of some of these folks that aren't voting with us and they're voting with the swamp, and educating their voters, talking to them. And the best part about the pain and praise is it's not during election season. So they're not ready to push back. When everybody's got mail, 100,000 text messages coming to them, it's all saturated. When we're the only ones out there, like this year in 2025, I'm going to raise and spend over $1 million in our states doing pain and praise. And nobody will push back because they're not ready for that. They're like, well, we'll wait until the election. But that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to expose them now, and then we'll primary them. We've primaried 6 of the most powerful Republicans in Pennsylvania the last 2 cycles. We took 5 out of the 6 out. Oh, wow. And so now a lot of them are getting in line because they see that pain. They don't want the pain, and we will bring the pain. And so they're starting to make sure, okay, we're going to stick with America first. We're going to stick with conservatives, and we're going to tell the lobbyists to go pound sand. They don't have to be true believers. I just need them to act and vote as if they're true believers. That's what matters.
Not a Republican, but a lot of pain with Josh Shapiro. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, Governor Josh Shapiro in PA, he is a prolific fundraiser. He is a speaker just like Obama, great communicator, and he campaigns like a moderate but governs like a commie. He is already out there with 105 people full-time as of January 15th in Pennsylvania, and this is why I tell everybody, we cannot take a year off, right? We can't take 3 years off especially, but you can't take a year off. So we're doubling down on the PA chase. We're going to try to knock 500,000 doors every year because they reset every year. Our requested ballots reset every calendar year. And so do I take a year off and just give Shapiro all the gains that we made and all that momentum? It's like, no, we got to hit now. So Democrats might be in disarray, but Josh Shapiro, in terms of his operations, they are very serious people. This is a business for them. And so we're going to double down. We're going to hire another 120 people, knock the 500,000 doors, and try to continue that momentum so that if we do continue to dominate Election Day voting, we're at least competitive in mail-in and we win the state.
At Maloney on X, he already said you can blow up his account there on X if you want to get into a race in your area, if you want to help him out, because there is a ton of work that still needs to be done.